Welcome to Soul Wellness with Kristen, where we get into the nitty-gritty of various holistic modalities and explore exactly how they help you heal. I'm your host, Kristen, and I invite you to join me on this enlightening expedition where we explore the connection between mind, body, and spirit. In each episode, we'll talk in depth with holistic providers, medical professionals, therapists, and healers. Our goal is to empower you with knowledge, inspire you with stories of resilience, and provide practical tools that you can integrate into your daily life. So, find a comfortable space and join us as we explore the multifaceted world of holistic wellness. Get ready to learn how to improve every aspect of your life and simply feel good. The adventure begins now. Thank you for joining us today. I have Lori Petty with me, who is a dear friend and tenant at Soul Wellness. She is an intuitive reader, certified sound healer, and Reiki practitioner, and her company name is Mindful Harmony with Lori. So thank you for being with me and welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
And I hear it's your first podcast ever.
Ever.
This
Very
is great.
First.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad I can be your first.
Me too.
You're such an interesting person to talk to because you are an intuitive, and I love having conversations with you. How in the world did you start on this journey of being a professional intuitive reader?
Well, I have had this ability to know things since I was little. I've been able to see people from the other side since I was little, but I didn't think it was weird or abnormal. I was an only child, so I didn't have anybody really to tell me it was different. But I learned pretty quickly as I got older that it wasn't something that everybody else had. And I learned to quiet it and to not bring it up because it was something that made me different and something that scared people. So I just knew things. And I've always, throughout my entire life, just knew things about people. I do use some different divination tools in my practice, but throughout my whole life, I would just meet somebody and I would know things about them. I would know if they had a bad childhood. I would know, if they were more positive, more optimistic, more pessimistic. So my life was very traumatic when I was little. I've had a ton of experiences in my life. And so I think a lot of those traumas also did feed into what gifts I have. I feel like part of my journey in this lifetime was to know things, and now I can see it was to have all these experiences to help people. So throughout my life, it was abnormally normal. When I was very young, I was 11 years old, because of the trauma and because of all the seeing the other side, I started drinking at a very young age, and that was my way to cope with drowning out the feelings, the things that I was seeing and hearing and no one else could hear, and to drown out the trauma and issues that I was going through. So I was a functional alcoholic for most of my life, and I was in corporate for 25 years, and then in 2017, I got a divorce. In 2018, I lost my corporate job. So everything that I identified with went away, and then it was just me. And so a few months into 2018, I was on vacation in Costa Rica, and I had a massive seizure and died for a few minutes,
Wow.
3.5 minutes or so. And when that happened, it was all of the stuff that I had repressed kind of like came shooting out at me. And after the fact, it was all of my intuitive abilities that I had suppressed for many years. And like I said, I knew things, and I would still tell people throughout my lifetime, but I would mute it. But then there was no muting. It was like, it's all coming out, and I needed to do something with it.
Isn't it interesting how you can not be on your path and certain circumstances will shove you onto it? It's like, no, little girl, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to help people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the timing is brilliant when I look back on it now, because, in the moment of things, we rarely know what's really going on until we have a good perspective from looking back.
Right.
And now I can see the timing, how important it is, because I started my practice in 2019. And with you,
Right.
a couple years later, I started reading So in 2018, when I had that happen, I mean, right away I was like, okay, I got to find my people. I got to find classes. I've got to start working on this. Even though I knew things, I wanted to fine tune. I wanted to learn. I got very ambitious and like voracious about wanting knowledge to understand what was going on. I read all kinds of books. Just everything. I was a sponge. And then I finally met some of my people at a place called Alara International, which is a day spa, but they also had spiritually based classes. And that's where I met my best friend. That's where I met your best friend. That's where I met a lot of my people that really embraced me and helped me on this journey. And my friend Anna and my friend Alyssa specifically, they noticed right away that when I would be in these classes with them, that my messages were spot on. And they're like, well, you need to do this professionally. And I was like, well, you're crazy. I'm not doing that professionally. This is just whatever. I just didn't have any confidence in myself. But I knew things. So then all that encouragement got louder and louder. And I was going through a pretty rough healing journey coming out of losing my corporate job, not knowing what I was going to do. And in 2019, I had a really bad health journey too, where I had an autoimmune disease flare up. So I got kind of stuck where I couldn't do anything out, and I got to learn more. So I was learning more about things. So fast forward, I was encouraged to do professional reading, and I started doing it for friends and acquaintances where I was charging. And then someone told me about your place, and I can remember going with Alyssa to meet you for the very first time. And as soon as I met you, I was like, oh, we know each other. There was so much soul recognition the moment we met.
It was the wildest thing when you walked in. I immediately looked at you and said, oh, you and I have met before, right? You said no. I'm like, oh, I feel like we've met somewhere. No.
I'm like, oh, this is past life stuff right here. I'm like, we've been sisters for a long time.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, many relationships. But and I was really scared. I can remember being really scared and thinking, well, this is where I am. No joke, where I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And again, I was really low in confidence with everything, but having you and having my best friend there, I ended up renting, I think it was a room, but it was one of the flex rooms. So I would rent the rooms out. And then right away, you and I started doing expos. I don't remember the whole timing of it.
I know. Yeah, it all came together for you. I will say, I mean, I've experienced you, obviously, being one of my close friends. You've done readings for me, but even not knowing you that well in the beginning, I was always blown away. I mean, you're amazing. I've seen intuitive readers all over this country. I want to say since I was probably in my early 20s. I just was interested in that. And hands down, you are such a positive reader. You're so encouraging, and you're spot on. So I highly recommend you for sure. But I wanted you to talk about how everybody has the intuitive ability. We're born with that. That is innate with all of us. It's
Everybody.
Just that some people really work to fine tune it and really work on honing those skills, and then they can do it professionally. Because I feel like some people are afraid of intuitive readers. They're afraid when they hear tarot cards. They're just so flipped out, like this person is dealing with the devil or something like that. Talk to me about that. I want to debunk all of the fears right now.
Right? Yeah, so there's nothing, I mean, I am of the light, and my readings are of the light. And before I do readings, I always bring in the light. I work with God. I work with Jesus. I mean, I'm not that I know them, but we all know them, but I call them in to protect me. I call in Archangel Michael. So I am not allowing any darkness. Now, I have seen darkness come through, very rarely, but I can see that come through, but I don't allow it. And if you see my office, there's crystals and different things that are very intentionally placed where they are to protect the space. So when we're using tarot cards, it's just a divination tool. There's many divination tools out there, and you can use anything for good or bad. It is really based on your intention. I've met people that had, negative intentions, so it just can happen, but it's not my intention. And anybody can use anything, like I said, for negativity. When it comes to debunking that, I mean, what I do is to help people on their healing journey. It's in my astrological chart. My Mercury is in Pisces. And for those that don't know anything about astrology, Mercury in Pisces, Mercury is all about your communication and your knowledge, and Pisces is spiritual. There's a lot more to it, but I have a direct connection with spirit. So that is one of the reasons why I think I get the messages so clearly that I do from people. And then when I throw cards down, I don't really need cards to tell people some things about themselves, but when I work with tarot cards, I can see some storylines that come up that I can tell what their intention is, what's on their mind through the cards that are coming up, whether it's relationships, whether it's finance, what it is, and sometimes a little bit of all of it in there. And it's hard to describe, but it comes out really clear, like I can see it. And then I also get messages. So I'm also a medium. I don't really advertise that a lot because I'm very cautious about mediumship, not because it's bad. It's just because it's not something that I have practiced a lot. I've started to practice it in the last few months more. And they're coming through a lot more frequently, so I've been forced into to doing that. But as we're doing a reading, I'm hearing things, I'm getting things, I'm getting a knowing, I'm getting all kind of different sensory messages, which is helping me. I always make sure it's not my mind, though. If I ever have to start to think about something in a reading, then I shut it down, because then that's off purpose. It's really about the intuitive hits.
I think that's so fascinating. I love that. But I want people to know that there's nothing to fear when they sit down with you, because I think people sometimes are afraid, maybe because of the messages they may hear. But like you said, you're always of the light. It's always to help heal you. You're only going to tell somebody something that they need to hear.
A lot of times, I just did a reading party the other night, and someone came in, she's like, I'm so nervous. And I'm like, why are you nervous? And she said, because I'm afraid you're going to tell me what I already know. But it's true. And I was like, well, okay.
If you already know it, then there you go.
Right. So it's interesting, right? That people are like, well, you're going to tell me I need to work on this. And sometimes they're apprehensive of working on something that maybe they've done for a really long time. Patterns, habits can be hard to get out of.
Yeah.
And most of the time, they're afraid of me telling them the truth.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it.
I know it has to be such a good feeling, though, because you've helped so many people. And to see them have an epiphany, or to see them know how to change their life, what they need to do, that's got to be really rewarding for you.
I love it. I can't even put a word around it, because it's my purpose. It's what I'm here to do. I am here to help people. I went through so many challenging experiences in my life, and now I know why. It was to give me a very large breadth of knowledge that I can communicate and understand and be compassionate with people that have gone through all kinds of things.
100%.
Right? So addiction, I've done that 36 years. I've been homeless several times in my life. I've died 3 times in my life. I've had health issues. I've had one thing after another. And so sometimes when I'm reading, I'm like, do I know this intuitively, or is it just because I've done so many things and experienced so many things in my life that I think there's a combination at work there.
So now you're kind of dipping your toes into sound healing.
Yes.
Because you've become certified in sound healing. Tell me about that.
Every month I do a full moon and a new moon gathering, because I am a moon girl from the very beginning. I have loved the stars. I'm sure I'm from another planet, or at least another star system. So I've always loved music. And when I started doing my moon gatherings, at the end, I started just doing like mini sound bath, just to kind of, chill people out, do a little kind of meditation. And it just came to me. It was another intuitive gift that I have, is just being able to play them intuitively. I started doing that, and I do it, I do those twice a month, and I'm playing the bowls. And then, I don't know, earlier this year, I decided to take a class and get certified and learn more about it, which was amazing and very helpful. And then a few years ago, I ran into something, I think it was during COVID. There was something that was advertised. It was called the Opus Sound Bed. It's a vibroacoustic sound bed where you lay on it. It actually vibrates. You put on noise-canceling headphones and you hear music. And there's sessions. So the music is playing in tandem with the vibration.
Okay.
And so this is a form of meditative healing. So you lay on the bed and you journey, you meditate, you can do several different things, and it's such a healing experience. So I got in on this way in the beginning when it was more of an idea than anything else. So it's taken a few years for them to start distribution, and they just started distributing them late last year. And I finally got mine in March, and it is phenomenal. You can do sessions that are chakra balancing, you can do shamanic journeys, there's just so much. Relax, focus, energize.
You can target certain chakras too with it. So if you're working with somebody and you know that they're having an issue, I don't know, speaking their truth with their throat chakra or something like that, you can put them on this bed and then put a program for the chakra.
Absolutely.
Kind of
and that happens most time when I do a reading with somebody, I can tell that they have a blocked chakra or they have an unbalanced chakra. So if they're giving all their power away, I know their solar plexus is out of balance. I know if they're not able to speak up and say their truth to somebody, their throat chakra is out of balance. And now with this sound bed, I can actually put them on that and help them start that healing journey at the same time, right? So it's so exciting because I was doing these readings. I've been doing them since, I don't know, when I walked in your door. And
It's been a few years.
It's been at least 3 years, maybe 4. But I've known for a long time that, okay, it's great that we can identify the issues, and I can really give I like to call it homework in readings and have people work on things themselves. But now that I have something in my office that I can do right there, and then they can come back and we can work on that, I think is brilliant.
It takes your readings another step.
Right.
Another step further because, you want to uncover what's going on intuitively, have an intuitive reading and figure out what's going on and what you need to work on. But then you can take it to the sound bed and really start right there.
Absolutely. And because I've been on my own healing journey for so many years, I know that that's so important because people would say, go work on yourself. I'm like, well, what the flip does that mean? Go work on yourself. Okay, well, give me some ideas. And this way we can start working on something. And each of the programs, they range anywhere from 5 minutes all the way up to an hour and a half. So there's a lot in between. So just a balancing of the throat chakra, I think it's maybe a 9-minute meditation.
Okay.
So not that that's going to fix you all the way, but it's going to start your healing.
Start the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
One day, do you think you'll have people coming in just for sound?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. That's my intention.
Yeah. Because maybe they work with you and want to come back and really start to dive in with the sound.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I saw you've got some moon gatherings coming up at Soul Wellness.
I do. Next Tuesday, we have a full moon gathering in Capricorn, which is really cool because it's the second full moon in Capricorn this month, and that's very significant. It's at 29 degrees. So we are clearing some things out.
Oh, this is good to know.
Yeah. There's a lot of really interesting astrological energy right now. And it is stirring up the pot. It is making people make some changes that they might not otherwise have wanted to make. Some people look at astrology and they are afraid of it. I don't look at it that way. And I really believe that you never want to look at something like if you have something in your chart that is a certain way, it doesn't mean it's a life sentence. It means it's an opportunity to work on.
Right.
And so right now, if you look at the world, there's a lot of things to work on.
Right.
So we're having a lot of energy that is stirring the pot to get us to stop some of the negative patterns that have been going on for many, many, many years and decades.
That's so interesting. Do you do astrology readings if someone requests that?
I do. Most of the time I use astrology as just an aid in readings. Like if somebody knows their time of birth and we're kind of on a roll with certain things, I'll be like, hey, do you know your time of birth? And we can look and that can give me additional information to help them.
Yeah.
But I'll do straight up astrology readings. A lot of times it's kind of teaching people to understand astrology and understand their chart and why they do the things they do, it helped me.
Oh, yeah. It's so helpful.
Yeah. I mean, it's helped me understand myself better. It's helped me understand other people better. So instead of thinking, oh, that person is just challenging, and if I know their chart, I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is where my energy and their energy, it kind of clashes a little bit because of that. It's not them, it's the energy.
Yeah. And you can see what they're here to learn. And you're like, oh, now I understand you better. Now I understand why you behave the way you do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you can see
makes
where Venus is. This is how what their love language is. Where their Mercury is, that's how they communicate. So some really easy, quick and dirty ways to understand yourself and other people.
And you use human design too, don't you, as a tool?
A little bit. Yeah, I use a lot of things, right? So human design is something I started learning last year. I have several friends that are practitioners in it that are really spot on, very good. But I know enough about it to help my clients.
Absolutely,
because to know more about themselves.
Gives you another little clue here and there.
Yeah. There's a couple other modalities I use too. So cards of destiny, it's the cards of your destiny. It's something that can help you with relationships. So it depends. Every reading can be different. Every reading is different because everybody's different.
Right. Okay, so I have a question for you. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you in an intuitive reading with a client?
So there's a lot, but recently I had one that was one that even made me pause. Yeah, because when people say, well, this is going to sound crazy, and I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? Nothing's going to sound crazy. So I was doing a reading for someone who had a really challenging mom. Everybody else thought this mom was this brilliant, beautiful person. She was in pageants and different things, and outwardly she was great, but she was very challenging to her children. And I'm being nice when I say that.
Okay.
So she had dealt with this in her life for her entire childhood. Her mom died when she was young, but it was always a challenge. So I am doing a reading for her, and we're working on some things, and all this stuff is coming out. And I always bring in my grandmother before each reading. I always call her my grandmother because she is my gatekeeper for my mediumship.
Okay.
So I do allow her to open the gates before my readings, and in case somebody wants to come through. And right away when I was doing this reading with this person, her grandfather came in right at the beginning. And he was funny because he had like this grumpy face, but he was very sweet. And he had positioned himself to her where it felt like almost a protective stance. And so at the end of the reading, I said, is there anything else? Did we cover everything? Anything else you're thinking of? She said, well, I was kind of hoping my mother would come through. And I said, well, I don't usually do this, but let's just see if we can tap into her energy. So I tapped in, and all of a sudden, there was this dark entity that was coming forward. And I'll be honest, I was like, okay, no, this isn't usually what I am accustomed to seeing. And right away, I could feel her grandfather's energy go right behind her, and then my grandmother's energy go right behind him. And it was like a very protective barrier that was being set up. And so we were able to get some answers to help her to move forward. There was a lot of things that happened to her mother that created, of course, the persona that she had in this lifetime, because hurt people, right?
Yep.
And it was a little startling, and I'll tell you more about it in the end, but at that moment, we were like, wow, this is really profound. And she told me at that moment, the person I was reading for, she said, it's good to know that she's coming through in this dark energy because it makes me realize that I wasn't crazy, that it wasn't me, because everybody else saw her this way. So fast forward, I asked a lot of questions of myself afterwards, because usually dark energy doesn't come forward, what was going on. And I was able to come to the conclusion that it was her lack of forgiveness that was making her mother show up as a dark entity. It wasn't that her mother was a dark entity. And as soon as she had that reading, she was able to forgive her, and now she doesn't come through that way.
Oh my gosh.
Which was crazy, right? So it was really a good learning for me as well.
If that doesn't tell you right there about your own perceptions, that's really interesting.
Yep.
If you perceive something to be bad, and dark,
And is.
it's going to be.
Absolutely.
If you perceive something to be light and helpful and supportive, it will be.
Because 9 times out of 10, when we pass, we integrate into our higher self. And that's all love and light. Now, can there be darkness? Absolutely. We know that from our experience. But the majority of the time, we're love and light. And even the most heinous people that cross are typically going into the light and are light.
Yeah, that's what I see. People that are on this planet with us that are dark, have a dark energy about them. You know that they've had some trauma.
Absolutely.
They've been hurt. As you said, hurt people hurt people. That's the most perfect way to say it.
Right.
Well, I have really enjoyed talking to you today. Tell everybody how to find you and how to book an appointment.
So I have a website. It's mindfulharmonywithlori.com. And I also have social media. So same name on Facebook and Instagram. And I also have a YouTube channel that I haven't done much on lately, but I have a few videos out there. And then I actually have an office at Soul Wellness where I can do in-person readings. But if someone is not in the vicinity, I can also do virtual readings.
Wonderful. So they can go to the Soul Wellness website or your website to get your information.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, I know for a fact you will be back on this podcast because there are so many topics I want to talk to you about. I just wanted to make this first one all about you and what you do and let people be able to find you to have a really cool session.
Well, thank you. And I just love this. I love you. And I love talking to people about, what they can do to help themselves on their journey.
That's what it's all about. Well, thank you so much. And I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on another enriching episode of Soul Wellness with Kristen. We hope the insights shared today have resonated with you, inspiring a deeper connection to your own journey towards holistic well-being. If you enjoyed today's episode, we invite you to subscribe, share, and reach out. Your feedback fuels our mission to bring you meaningful content that educates, empowers, and uplifts. Remember, you are a vital part of this community, and together we're creating a ripple effect of positive change.